Chapter.
Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big, butch, manly pop culture podcast with way too much to confess. I'm Shane Holland.
And I'm Andrew Wheeler.
Today we are talking about Wake Up Dead Man. It's a 2025 American mystery film written and directed by Ryan Johnson. It's the third film in the Knives Out series and stars Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Terry Washington, Andrew Scott, and, of course, Daniel Craig, reprising his role as Master Detective Benoit Blanc. Wake Up Dead Man is the third entry in the Benoit Blanc series of whodunits, following 2019's Knives Out and 2022's Glass Onion, and the last to be produced under a two-picture deal with Netflix. If Craig and Johnson can release two more Blanc movies by 2033, they will have officially outpaced Craig's Bond franchise. Wake Up Dead
Yeah.
Man has multiple connections to the Bond franchise, not just in star Daniel Craig, but in appearances by Andrew Scott, who plays C. Inspector, and Jeffrey Wright, who played the recurring role of Felix Leiter. And they join Anna de Armas from Knives Out and Dave Bautista from Glass Onion in the Blanc Blanc crossover club, a club I would love to be in. The story, Judd Duplessis, played by Josh O'Connor, is a boxer turned Catholic priest assigned to a rural parish in upstate New York, led by the confrontational Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, played by Josh Brolin, and managed by Martha Delacroix, played by Glenn Close. When the Monsignor is murdered in seemingly impossible circumstances, Detective Benoit Blanc, Daniel Craig, is called in to solve the murder. Classic.
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot.
You did
Andrew,
beautifully, darling.
thank you. Can you tell me what's your relationship to the Knives Out franchise, to this film in particular? I want to know all about it.
I mean, I love this franchise, as I think many people do. It's hugely popular, which is nice to see for something that is an original cinematic property and so clearly a work of love from the writer, director, and the leading actor. And I love noir. I love detective stories. You know, I did my A-level thesis on detective stories. I say thesis, it was like a 5-page essay. It's A-levels, it's not that deep. But, you know, I always grew up with them in the house. My parents both read a lot of classic detective fiction. Well, my mum read more of the sort of saucy paperback versions, and my dad read the serious hardback detective novels. Wilkie Collins on one side and Nio Marsh on the other side. So, yeah, it's in the blood. And I think the first movie was a real, like, sneak triumph. So surprising and so refreshing and such an incredible cast. The second movie, Glass Onion, wasn't as strong to me, but it's still a hugely enjoyable movie. Like I think there isn't a bad one in the bunch. I mean, it's only 3 so far, but Glass Onion feels to me like the least of the 3. But I love the Janelle Monáe performance, and I love a lot of the humor in that one is great. And of course, the takedown in fact, in all 3 movies of modern day conservatism is perfect, delightful, really pleasing to see articulated in a mainstream popcorn movie. And then this one hits my sweet spot because this is about Catholicism and faith and doubt and identity. And I am Catholic. I was raised in the church. I have written about Catholicism and queerness.
Hey Mary,
So
out now.
Hey Mary, in shops. Yeah.
Glad award nominated feature, Hey Mary.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I am glad award nominated. I'll expand on that later, maybe. Because it's about Catholicism, because it's about doubt, and because it so beautifully sort of balances out the Blanc position and the Father Duplessis position and manages to weave a line that is humane to everyone, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about you and this movie.
Well, like you, I've loved the Benoit Blanc mysteries from the very start. I am also a huge noir fan. I'm a lover of mysteries. My mother is a lover of mysteries and spy stories. I come from a Le Carre household.
Mm.
I think the thing that gravitated me towards these films was that they are so heavily inspired by my favorite film of all time, Clue. And there are bits and pieces of that in every single one of them. And often Clue is seen as a kind of cheap movie. A lot of people call it a great bad film. I think it's a great,
You
great
know,
film. And I
yeah.
think Ryan Johnson sees it that way as well. And also, Ryan Johnson is the creator of the best Star Wars film since Empire Strikes Back. What I love about that is the way that that experience created these films and how these films tackle the problem of the broken Nazi troll boys of the internet. It's one of the great pain turned art stories of our time. And this film, I think, is the most direct in lambasting that culture, and it
Yeah.
has the most direct reference. We could rule the church like father and son, like in Star Wars. Yeah, like the rebels. Just that one little clip of dialogue, it says so much about what is wrong with internet culture in that anyone can take something out of context and twist it to suit their agenda, no matter what the original context was. It was really brilliant, and that is laced not just throughout all three of these films, but I found particularly so in this one. And as a meditation on grace and forgiveness, I found it terribly moving. As someone who continues to seek peace and grace for my own past, I just love that the movie lands on hope and peace and acceptance as a resolution instead of false piety and judgment and that there's something outside of us that will heal us, that it's actually in here that heals us. It was really, really moving. And I've now seen this movie twice, and I felt just as moved at the end this time around.
Yeah, it holds up to rewatching terrifically. I've seen it 3 times now, and yeah, I feel like I could just always have it on and still be picking up things from it. So I guess we like this movie, is
I
what we're
guess
saying.
so. Yeah. I also watched Glass Onion directly after watching Wake Up Dead Man last night. And much like you, I feel like Glass Onion is the weakest of the three, but is still really entertaining. And there were things in that that I had forgotten that he touches on here, like the whole cancel culture
Yeah.
and the rich and powerful men with these auras of magnetism who do terrible things because of their hubris. I love that he has such a strong thesis in what he's saying in these films.
Yeah. And this third one especially takes on MAGA culture so directly that it's
Mm.
yeah, I'm the sequence where what's her name? Kerry Washington's character
Vera,
is Vera taking on the sort of it's the big confrontation in the prayer circle room, and she's saying, "Look, you would eat up anything he says." And we watch the men in the room, and also Kaylee Spenny's character going through like immediate convolutions to justify the fact that they're not going to abandon him, and then he abandons them, and it's like that is perfect. That is a beautiful encapsulation of exactly where we are and why we are so effed.
yeah, truly, truly. You mentioned Kerry Washington. Should we talk about the women of this film?
Let's talk about the women of this film because there are so many good ones. And
Yeah.
also, this is a film that is about patriarchy and misogyny to a very great extent.
Hmm. Yeah. And I want to start at the top with Glenn Close. Give her the Oscar already. My God, what a performance. What a powerhouse of a performer she is. And that role is so meaty and so dark.
Yeah.
And that it ends up being half of the heart of this movie is really what I think that's the twist that I wasn't expecting.
It's the role she was born to play again. Like, she has had so many roles she was born to play. You know, from Cruella de Vil to here is a straight line in many ways. But this is a beautiful, like, actually, this is a much more, I would say, complex role than Cruella, thankfully, needs to
Mhm.
be, but similarly delicious in what she gets to do.
Yes, we mentioned Kerry Washington. Her and Kaylee Spinney are making smoking cool again, I'm sorry to say.
That and the heated rivalry boys, I don't know how we're going to cope as a culture.
I
Are
mean,
the
look,
liberals going to take up smoking now?
when the world around you is burning, you may as well.
You can light your cigarette anywhere.
Let's say that.
Fine, fine, I'll take up smoking. Fine.
No, 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 no. Don't do that. Vape instead.
Well, if if you do it, I'll do it. How about that? That's a deal, right?
Andrew, no.
I'm a monster.
Love both of their characters.
Yes.
And to what you just said, about Kerry Washington coming into the room being like, "Look at you idiots," and then Kaylee Spinney, like being classic conservative white woman, uh,
Yeah.
but but he gives me hope.
Yeah.
I think that Kaylee Spinney has a really uh fantastic turn in this film, and I love that the resolution to her character is to learn to live and make art through the pain, which feels very much like what
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson has done. God, I could just like keep going on about how great the actual like underlying tones of this film are.
Kerry Washington is so well chosen for this specific role because huffing righteously about the injustices of the world is what she did on Scandal for, I don't know, 7 years or however long that show ran. She's so good at it. And it's so delicious to sort of see the moment the film almost like stops and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kerry Washington." She never disappoints. Kaylee Spinney, I don't know that I've seen her in anything, but she's so radiant.
Mhm.
Really loved discovering her through this. Yeah, I think they're phenomenal characters. But the one woman that I think we have to talk about, other than Glenn Close, is the incredible Bridget Everett as Louise.
Scene stealing.
Such an incredible performance because it's so like the pivot from comedy to absolutely tearing your heart out, brilliantly executed. The fact that that is the pivot point of the whole movie is
Mhm.
this one character who is outside of this world, but who means everything to Father Duplessis. I need to remember what his first name is because I can't keep calling him Father Duplessis.
It's Judd, right?
Judd.
Yeah. My name is Judd.
It's what a great name. English people are not usually called Judd. Yeah, Bridget Everett, phenomenal scene stealer, as you said. All the bouquets to her.
Yeah, and most of her performance is a voiceover performance. We only
Yeah,
flash to her face like for 10 seconds, maybe.
mhm.
It is just so powerful what she does with the rest of her time. And yeah, all the credit to the writers for making that moment land as hard as it does. And all the credit to Bridget Everett for just spitting those words out like fire. Really brilliant.
I also want to shout out our harlot whore Annie Hamilton as Grace Wicks. The words harlot whore, maybe that will be my first tattoo. It's such a vituperous phrase, but also like it tells you whose side you're on immediately. The fallen woman trope. Clearly, this woman was maligned and done dirty in her life, and I hope that Grace does find her Grace. Not subtle in the naming there.
No, no. Well, this movie isn't subtle, right?
No, doesn't need to be.
No, the harlot whore as the real victim all along is where I needed
Yeah.
this film to go, and it
Yes.
fully went there with that in a spectacular fashion.
To really land that moment between Judd and Martha and her saying, "You're very good at this."
Hmm.
Like, I mean, that was beautiful. That's such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, that is. And one last shout out, Mila Kunis, looking like the most snatched police officer to ever grace the streets of this small town. I mean, it's kind of like a thankless role to be the straight detective or the straight police officer to Benoit Blanc's like flamboyant, gregarious detective. But I think Mila Kunis does it.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be averse to them bringing back Lakeith Stanfield for one of these movies again.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Speaking of
Okay,
pretty boys,
let's talk about the boys. I had never seen a Josh O'Connor before.
insane to me. Crazy. I feel like I've seen almost everything he's done, which is not true. I just feel like it's true. No, I love Josh O'Connor, and I'm very glad to welcome you into the fold, assuming that is what we are doing.
I am a fan. Marry me. That killer smirk, there's those soulful puppy dog eyes, the boxer's ears, and that tenderness in which he plays this fighter turned father. Yum. Oh my
Yeah.
God. What a revelation.
Ex-boxer turned priest is already a sexy combination. Watching him punch out a dick hole as his opening introduction moment is a very sexy move. So he has you on the hook from the beginning. But yeah, Josh O'Connor, I've told you to watch Another Country. It's a wonderful queer movie. The other lead in that is also gorgeous. He made Prince Charles oddly sexy in The Crown.
First time anyone's ever said that.
What a triumph! What a what a bravura performance! There's something so attractive about Josh O'Connor that goes beyond his sort of like he doesn't look like a classic movie star. He has big ears, a big nose. He's very like bloke on the street, but he has the charisma and he just has an energy, I think, that makes him. I don't know. I don't know a gay man that isn't in love with Josh O'Connor, basically.
I get it. I really get it. I am here for him, and I will be watching Another Country the next time I
Yeah,
get to watch
boyfriend
a
material.
movie for myself.
No, no movies for you. Only for podcast.
Oh God. uh okay, aside from Josh O'Connor, there is one other really pretty boy in this film. That would be Daryl McCormack, who
Yeah.
unfortunately plays like the second biggest villain of the film.
Yes.
He's pretty in a way that Republicans are pretty, but you hate them.
Yeah. The unredeemed villain of the film, the one that
Mm.
finds no solace in God. Yeah, he would be so much hotter if he weren't playing a Republican. Those eyes are beautiful.
Oh my
I
God.
need to watch Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, where he plays a sex worker opposite Emma Thompson.
Yes.
I've been meaning to watch that for the longest time and have never got around to it, but now is the time, maybe.
I think so. That's been on my list as well. So Another Country. Good luck to you. Uh, yeah,
Only
and
podcast.
I think he does a great job in this film being like the the person that you want to hate most. I mean,
Yeah,
you could say that that is Josh Brolin, but Josh Brolin is such an outsized character that it feels more parody than real. Daryl McCormack
yeah,
plays the people that we see all the time in real life on television.
all the time.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, running through his list of things that he tried to do to gain popularity, and it's like, the abortion thing, the election thing,
The trans
what
thing.
was it, induction stove thing?
Oh
It's
my
like, for God's
God,
sakes.
scenes. Yeah, he is everything that you and I hate, and I'm sure a lot of other
Yeah.
people. But I also, I mean, I have to recognize that this film tells us not to hate these people, but to, feel sorry.
Yeah, if they weren't in power.
Well, that, yeah.
There is another hottie that I need to call out. I don't know how it happened, but Thomas Hayden Church has never been finer in a movie than playing the virtually wordless groundskeeper who
Honest
sadly is a
to
victim
God.
of all this nonsense. I mean, what a daddy.
How? How does one age gracefully like that? What is the secret? Can he be my daddy?
Honestly, aging upwards, that man, 65 years old, older than Fiona on the Traitors, and
Wow. Incredible work. Yeah, he just has, and he gets to play this like beautiful, like sad, quiet man. He's not really sad, but he's just a very quiet, like
yeah,
easygoing guy who gets sucked into this whole thing. Like you said, he's the real victim of the present day circumstances of this film.
yeah. Like he's complicit, but he doesn't understand what he's doing, and that's also, that's the voters being dragged along.
Mm.
and then suffering the most. I feel like I'm writing my A-level essays all over again. And at least one more boy. Well, you might want to talk about Andrew Scott before we get to the big guy himself.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Scott is so good at playing vile characters that it effectively hides his hotness. But I think that Andrew Scott is a very attractive person, and he is a gay man, which I don't, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people forget because he typically plays these horrible, horrible, horrible people. But he's just really good at his job as an actor. And I respect him and I hate him in this film.
And he was the reigning hot priest until he ceremoniously handed over the collar to Josh O'Connor.
That's right. But yes, there is one other man that we have to talk about. And that is,
One man
of
above
course,
us all.
above us all. It is Foghorn Leghorn, Daniel Craig.
I mean, I'll have more to say about him, I think, in the fashion section,
Yeah.
but we love Daniel Craig. He is an ally, at least. He's an ally asterisk. He is a great James Bond, a phenomenal actor. We loved him in Queer, loved him in anything I've seen him in. And Benoit Blanc is the role of his lifetime. And that's such a weird thing for a diehard Bond fan who loves him as Bond to say. But I want more Benoit Blanc movies, and I was done with Daniel Craig Bond movies.
It's just so it's so cool that most Bond actors don't go on to do other things successfully.
Mhm.
That is well known. Like you get put in the Bond box for the rest of your life. That Daniel Craig
Yeah.
immediately turned around and said, "Nope, I have found something that I love and I'm sticking with, and I'm going to make it even more memorable than the thing that people will remember me for forever." Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
In fact, Knives Out came out between his last two Bond movies, so
Mm.
he tessellated that stuff. He did an
Oh yeah.
amazing job of setting himself up for basically the
Yeah.
best retirement an actor can have.
And he still got it. Like even with that horrible wig, he's still got it.
Yeah, he's not going to be walking out of the sea in a tiny blue speedo anymore, but he can accompany me for a quiet nightcap and a little how's your father? Sure.
Absolutely. He also has I think my favorite speech from any of these films when he walks into the church for the first time and he says, "It's like someone has shot
Yeah.
a story at me that I do not believe. It's built upon the empty promise of a child's fairy tale filled with malevolence and misogyny and homophobia, and it's justified untold acts of violence and cruelty, while all the while and still hiding its own shameful acts."
You didn't even get to my favorite phrase in the whole speech, perfidious bubble of belief.
I mean, the whole speech is just
It's so good.
incredible.
Yeah,
He's so
yeah.
good.
I want to hear Connie the Hormone Monstrous saying perfidious bubble of belief.
All right, let's talk about the music.
It's a great score
Hmm.
rather than a needle drop type of movie. Lots of gothic strings, some blaring brasses in key moments. Not a score that I sort of sat with, but one that I noticed more on this third viewing. And yeah, I think it does a flawless job. It's odd to me that there are a few needle drops in there, but they're not like a
Not what you
focus
think.
of the
Yeah.
movie. They're almost surprising when they occur, with of course the Andrew Lloyd Webber needle drops in particular being deliberately shocking.
Yes. I mean, the the needle drops are character drops in this movie,
Yeah.
and not in well, I was going to say not in huge ways. Except you're right. The Andrew Lloyd Webber needle drops are like fantastic,
Big.
very big, but they have nothing to do with the film other than to like kind of explain who Benoit Blanc is and how he gets people's attention. And then there's the Tom Waits needle drop at the very end, which is very tied to Josh O'Connor's
Yeah.
character. Like one is incredibly gay, one's incredibly straight. That's how I felt about the music. That's how I felt about the characters.
The other track that I want to call out, the one that really resonated for me, is the cello version of Simple Gifts, played by Kaylee Spenny's character. That is a Shaker hymn, so it is a piece of music written by a Christian sect. And I think that was chosen very deliberately as a way of addressing that America is all Christian sects. You know,
Mm.
that's the version of Christianity we live with now, is sort of Shakers and Quakers and Mormons, and I'm not equating all of these religions with each other, or all of these sects with each other, but I'm saying that that is the patchwork that America lives in today. And I've always thought of Simple Gifts as in the UK, it's more popularly Lord of the Dance, which I always thought of as like a pagan song. It's not a pagan song, but it is a Christian song that takes pagan inspiration. So those two versions of that song both were like present in my mind when she played that piece.
I'm learning something.
Taking you to church, baby.
Speaking
And
of Hallelujah, should we move on to the fashion, or do you have more to say about the music?
no, let's talk about what we're wearing to church this Sunday.
Oh, well, I'm wearing some lace in honor of
Lovely,
Martha
lovely,
Delacroix. Yes.
perfect. Love that. Lace cuffs and white collars are very much her thing. Do you have a brooch? No, you have a microphone.
A
So
microphone. Yes.
close. And you do need to wear like a big, shocking black housecoat dress to
Yes,
really
absolutely.
capture Martha's brilliance.
Where is my
I'm, of
trader's
course, dressed
cape?
in. You might be able to work out that I am doing a Benoit Blanc today. Golden check. He's wearing a.
Of course.
Yeah, you get it
Yeah.
now. I thought about wearing my priest robes, but they're at the dry cleaners. So, yeah, his suit is a 70s YSL Yves Saint Laurent suit, I am told by the internet. He also has this fabulous pale pink overcoat that he wears
Mm.
over the top of it. Just a little reminder of who Benoit is and what he's bringing into this community. So, yeah, Benoit looks fabulous all the way through this movie. Not that he has a ton of different outfits, but when everyone he has is great. And he does go pretty much full foghorn leghorn at the end there when he's saying goodbye and leaving the church. And
Yes.
suddenly he's like, looks like he's going to prepare some fried chicken.
Yeah. Love the mustard yellow suit from Yves Saint Laurent. Love the dazzlingly white suit as he leaves the church. I'm sure not intentional at all. This movie, lots of robes, lots of vestments. The thing that stood out most to me was when Vera arrives to take everyone down. She's in this emerald green pantsuit, and it's just such a splash of color in a movie that had been mostly browns and blacks up until that point, and it's a real statement to her character, like, no, I'm putting away this church and I'm being me. That I thought was a brilliant fashion choice for the film. But I gotta say, after watching Glass Onion directly afterwards, I was shocked by how few looks there were in this film, because the other two films are full of looks. Like, it is
Yeah.
fashion upon fashion, whether it is like the cozy cardigan fashion of Knives Out, or the garish multimillionaire fashion of Glass Onion. They just like were serving looks. This one, much, much more understated, and for a reason, right? Like, it's part of the story that it was going to be less fashionable, more focused on the message. But I did miss it a little bit. I missed seeing Benoit walking around in his Yves Saint Laurent sailor's shirt and handkerchief. I missed the hats. I missed the pageantry of the fashion.
I love how much Benoit Blanc reinvents himself in each movie. Like
Hmm.
he's always consistently him, but he always has a different like silhouette, a different color palette, but it always is Benoit Blanc. Similarly with Kerry Washington, like she's wearing dual tones. You can believe she had that green outfit. It's consistent with everything else she's worn, but it explodes. So I would say that the wardrobe choices are incredibly conscientious, incredibly well chosen.
Mm.
But yeah, upstate New York church community, it's not going to be a fashion show.
It's not a Southern
Josh
Baptist.
O'Connor, Josh O'Connor, rakish in a sort of rock star priest's garments, like the sort of, he's wearing quite a cool jacket. I think he's wearing boots and like he's a little bit crinkled at all times. Yeah, I would have been in love with that priest. No problem.
Yeah.
Also want to call out the 19th century Gothic revival church in upstate New York was played by a 19th century Gothic revival church in Essex, England. So beautiful work from that church. You looked fabulous, darling.
Where was this filmed in the US or in England?
In England.
Of
In
course.
England.
That's why there's so many English actors playing Americans. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. English and Irish, and I think mostly English and Irish. Darryl McCormack and Andrew Scott.
Both
Both
English.
Irish?
Both Irish.
No.
Josh O'Connor's Irish.
Yeah. No, Josh O'Connor's English. Honey.
Hey, I got it wrong.
You never can tell. You never can tell.
I'm not good at that.
All right. Shall we get into our final category here?
Yes.
The
let's
queerness.
talk about the queerness. Look, we've got Andrew Scott, a real life gay, and Daniel Craig, a real movie gay. That's pretty queer in itself. We've talked before about how Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz are this power couple who exclusively play queer roles, and we love that about them. They are the best allies and maybe the freakiest couple in cinema right now. And I
You like to
love
dream.
that for
Yeah.
them. I love to dream that they're like, no, honey, you can have your lover over. No, it's fine. I'm going to go out with my lover tonight. That's what plays in my head.
Yeah, I need to create a new. Sorry, I need to create a new frame that's like this is a fantasy sequence.
Yes, right, of course. Yeah, my fantasy. But aside from the queer actors, I just love that Benoit is an avowed atheist, a self-proclaimed heretic, and he has to reckon with his own faith throughout. And it definitely, I think, speaks to that specific Catholic guilt faced by queer kids who grew up in a church that told them they were damned and unworthy of love. That's pretty queer.
Yeah, the fact that Benoit Blanc is gay, and we're not talking about it in this movie, but it is there. It is a established fact. It does inform the movie tremendously because he talks about his relationship with the church, his relationship with his mother. We don't know the details of any of that. We don't actually know what church he was a part of, probably like a Southern Baptist or something like that, rather than the Catholic Church. But as a Catholic, I'm given to understand that the Southern Baptist Church presents its own set of challenges. So, fair enough. He has mummy issues. That's how you know for sure he's a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's railing against the church as a gay man raised in the church so often does, or raised with a faithful parent so often does. I feel like I can talk a little bit about what it is to struggle to align sexuality with faith, because I did write the book.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I am going to push it a little bit here. Hey Mary,
GLAAD Award
by the
nominated.
phenomenal Roy Hickman. Yeah, this movie, not GLAAD Award nominated because not queer enough for the GLAAD Media Awards. My book, Hey Mary, with art by the phenomenal Roy Hickman, is GLAAD nominated. So go out and buy it if you want to read a story about a young man struggling to reconcile his Catholicism with his queer identity. No one is murdered, but otherwise it's just like this movie. It's nothing like this movie.
No one
but it's
was
very good in its
murdered
own right, I'm
in
told.
Mary?
Well, I'm trying to think now. I mean, it does cover a lot of history. There are some martyrs, so I suppose people do actually get murdered. But we know who did it. It was
there's that one
patriarchy.
big martyr. What was his name? I think he was a carpenter.
You'll have to
It's
narrow
not
it
coming to me.
down.
Yeah.
Karen Carpenter?
Yes, the martyr Karen Carpenter. Crazy Karen Carpenter.
So, yeah, from a queer perspective, this film resonated with me a lot, even though we do not talk about... The film doesn't talk much about love, and it does not talk at all about sex, really, apart from Monsignor Wicks masturbating in the shower and ejaculating into a copy of the... What was it called? The Catholic Herald or something?
Yeah, Catholic Herald. I don't know him.
The Lesbians Herald.
Yeah, I mean, God, yeah, I just really love how and this is weird for me to say. I love that the queerness isn't the focus, but it is kind of an undertone throughout this film
Yeah,
that is something that Benoit has to struggle with. He's trying to save the soul of a man who uh who in many respects is the kind of person who informed Benoit's whole life view up to that point. Yeah, it's wonderfully done, but it's not explicit unless you've seen other films in this franchise.
yes, that is fair. All right, shall we give our scores for this movie?
Yeah, I think that's pretty important. Andrew, what are you going to give this movie? Oh, I guess I should tell you how we do this in case this is your first time watching. We always score the film between 1 and 5 points based on how much we liked it. And then we give additional bonus points for the categories that we just discussed: women, boys, music, fashion, and queerness. We are allowed to give a film a penalty of a point in case there was something egregious or offensive in it. I don't think that's going to be the case here. So, Andrew, what are you giving this film out of 5?
Given that I thought Knives Out was nearly a perfect film, and given that I like this one more than Knives Out, maybe, I think I'm actually going to go with a 5. Is that
Hmm.
crazy? I
No,
think it's a 5.
he, I loved it. So why am I hesitant to give it a 5? Is it because
Be it-
I think maybe it's because Knives Out felt so fresh and unexpected. And now we are heading into, like, I don't want to say Agatha Christie territory because she's a horrible racist, homophobic, misogynistic person. But like we are now seeing a series being created, or I feel that's what I can see in this film. I'm gonna give it a 4 just because it didn't feel as like mind-blowingly awakening
well,
as that first time I saw Knives Out.
I totally get that. What about the women of this film? Do they get the bonus point?
Yeah, they have to get the bonus point. That they were all incredible. It was such a treasure to like meet the actor Kaylee Spinney and to see what Glenn Close did for this role.
Yeah. And to, just in celebration of the harlot whore herself, I have to give it the point.
Praise be. And then the boys, did they get a point?
Josh O'Connor is like just a powerhouse of sexy boyfriend material in this movie, and we do get some other sprinklings of eye candy throughout. It's not a sexy movie, generally speaking, but Judd Duplessis, my God, I would come to church every Sunday, and so to speak. So I'm going to have to give Josh O'Connor the point.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, I didn't come here for the Jeremy Renners, who we didn't even mention at all.
Jeremy who?
Like, it is purely for Josh O'Connor, but he is so good and so hot that I have to give.
Now the music, I've said like I enjoy the music. I think it's like beautifully done, but it doesn't stand out in this movie. And as much as I think that cello version of Simple Gifts is beautifully used in the movie, I don't want to spend my time listening to Simple Gifts the rest of the time. So I cannot give it. I have sung Simple Gifts and Lord of the Dance in various choirs in my lifetime.
Of course, you.
It's a very pretty milk toast hymn that sounds much better on a cello than it does coming out of a choir. No point for the music from me. What about you?
Phantom is one of my favorite musicals. Cats is one of my least favorite musicals. And the inclusion of Cats means that I cannot possibly include this as a music point.
Wow, that bodes well for when we do our Cats episode.
Oh, God. Are we doing the stage version or the film version? And either
Oh,
way,
the
I
film
hate it.
version, the butthole edit, for
The
sure.
butthole cut? Okay, well, I'm a little more excited. Does this film get a
Yeah, see,
fashion point?
I don't see how it can. No, it does not get
No,
a fashion point from me.
no, nor from me, unfortunately. But I mean, this is a question. Does it get a queerness point?
You know, the Glad Media Awards do not consider this to be a movie worthy of recognizing, unlike my book Hey Mary with the fabulous artist Ray Hickman. So
Heard of it?
that counts against it, but it does feel like a queer text to me, and that's often the standard I apply versus your more is it explicitly queer standard. So I think because of what it speaks to in me, I have to give it the queerness point.
You know, I also am going to give it the queerness point. And like you said, I usually demand much more explicitity. What's the word I'm looking for? I demand that it be more
Explicitness?
explicitness.
Yes.
But I think that like the inclusion of the canonically queer character Benoit Blanc dealing with faith, that's queer to me.
Yeah. So that gives us a final score of 7.5 out of 10, which is a very fair score
Mhm.
when you consider the two axes that we grade along, the queerness of it all and just pure excellence of it all. I am very hopeful that we will see more Benoit Blanc movies, and maybe they will beat the James Bond record, both in total number of movies and in production turnaround time. I don't think he's going to stick with Netflix for the next movie because he wants theatrical releases, Rian Johnson, for these movies, and he did get that with this one, but it was like a
It's so
one,
limited. It's
2
like
week
a one
exclusive.
weekend. Yeah. Yeah, I
But I'm very confident we'll keep seeing these movies because actors want to be in them and audiences want to see them.
yeah, they both Ryan Johnson and Daniel Craig have said, "Hey, as long as people keep coming to see it or keep watching it,
Yeah,
then we really want to do it." So it's kind of dependent on you, viewer, to go out there and make sure that everyone is watching this so that they know that the demand is there because we love this. You and I
yeah,
are all in on this franchise. I
all in.
love a
Yeah,
murder mystery, and I love one that sent that where the detective is a queer character. That is everything I've wanted my entire life. Please make more of these films. If you enjoyed this video, please tell a friend and check out some of our other movie reviews, including Barbarella, praise be, The Man from Uncle, praise be, Jurassic World Rebirth, amen and hallelujah. If you haven't already, please click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you as always for watching. Until next time, kiss, kiss.
bang.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBPod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.